What were those Nets years like in the late 90s in New Jersey?
It was interesting time to be a Net. The organization was going through a transformation. I mean, they were practicing prior to me coming to the Nets. When Derek Coleman and then Kenny Anderson was there, they were practicing over at some trucking company. And I remember working out there. It's one of my pre-draft workouts or post-draft. And I was like, wow, this is an interesting practice facility, because I remember working out in the draft at different teams having their own facility. And I'm like, we're at a trucking company on Tunnelly Avenue? That's interesting. And so the team and the organization was transforming and trying to find themselves, trying to become, a part of the conversation of a winning organization. And, they hired Calipari out of college. He had that college mentality. We're going to work and practice hard. And guys in the league were like, bro, this is the league. We don't practice like that. So, I was a part of that group. And then we made that big trade for Sam Cassell, Chris Gatlin, as you mentioned. Jimmy Jackson came over, and we were competitive. We went from being not competitive, losing almost every night, to being really competitive. The following year, made the playoffs, lost to the 70-win Bulls. And then, wound up trading for Marbury and then eventually Jason Kidd. So it was interesting to be a part of the team, being drafted to a team that really wasn't that good, honestly, wasn't that good, to then becoming really relevant and having a chance to win on any given night against any team.
You, in that 96 draft, number one, Allen Iverson, yourself, Samaki Walker, Steve Nash, Kobe Bryant, a myriad of players. I know the 84 draft has always been talked about as like the GOAT draft with Michael and Hakeem. 2003 draft with LeBron, Wade, Bosh, Melo is often talked about. What was that 96 draft like specifically? Because it was actually at the Continental Airlines Arena in East Rutherford where you ended up playing. What was that day like for you?
That was a great day. It was a day where, I think everybody feels as though their draft was pretty deep. Like everyone feels as though when they come out, right, they're coming out with the best players, and they're going to go in the league together and make some noise. So, but we knew we were good. I mean, we knew we had some talent. I didn't know we were that deep. I didn't know that Kobe was going to be Kobe. I knew he was going to be good. I played against him in high school, when he was down the road from me and I was at Villanova. And, I played against Steve Nash over in Maui in the Maui Classic. I knew he was good, but I didn't see him being that caliber player. And then you go out in the draft with Jermaine O'Neal and Peja and then Derek Fisher, and those guys were later. So I didn't see the draft being that deep. But when you peel it back and you start to realize it, the 84 draft was definitely top heavy with Michael and Hakeem. But the 96 draft was a special class. Top heavy and, real deep with real quality, perennial all-stars, franchise players late in the first round. Derek Fisher, 5-time champion. So I think my draft, I put up against any draft, to be honest with you, even the 2003 draft.
You talked about Kobe going to Lower Merion, you being in Villanova. I'm an alum of Eastern University, which is a little bit, nearby, and St. David's. And Kobe was a legend. I've talked to John Celestin in the past just about his, knowing Kobe's talent. What was your relationship like with him down the road at Lower Merion and you at Villanova? When'd you first meet him?
I first met him through John Lucas, who was coaching the Sixers at the time. And John used to have workouts all the time at St. Joe's, right down the road from Nova. And so I'm working out with John, working out with Mo Cheeks. And then Kobe comes in, local high school kid. And I was like, oh snap, this boy can go. This boy is talented. And so it was like workouts. And then we playing one-on-one. And I was like, bro, like, you ready for the league now. Like, he knew he was ready. Like, he didn't need me to tell him that. He was just that talented and that hungry. Like, he really wanted to dominate. He didn't care who he was playing against. He was playing against me. He was playing against Stackhouse. He was playing against, Eddie Jones. He wanted to dominate. Like, he was just that confident. So I knew he was special. And then when I played against him the first time with the Lakers, I was like, oh yeah, he's what I thought he would be. He's what I thought he would be. So he wasn't a fluke from day one.
Shaq and the Lakers met you guys in the finals, and I feel like a lot of people didn't see the Nets coming. One, number two, they didn't give you guys a chance against the Lakers. And Shaq told me on my podcast that Todd McCullough was boring. And I guess for you, were you guys nervous?
We weren't nervous. I would say we were just overpowered. They just had too much talent. That's just the bottom line. I mean, they overpowered us up front with Shaq. He was a handful. We had no answers for him. And then Kobe on the perimeter. He was also another dominant player. But that Laker team, to be honest with you, that Laker team had the perfect supporting cast of those two superstars. And that's what made them even more dangerous. I mean, you have two of the top talents in the whole league, right, on the same team, and then a supporting cast that really complements what they need, and then the Hall of Fame coach. We had no chance.
When you look at the Spurs in 2003, you had a former teammate in Stephen Jackson go from the Nets to the Spurs and win a ring. You had David Robinson on his way out. You had Kevin Willis getting a ring on his way out. You had Duncan, Parker, Ginobili. I mean, that series against the Spurs, you had some experience the year before. What was that like for you?
It was a little bit more competitive series. We won 2 games. I thought it should at least go on to 7. But similar to that, I mean, let's think about this. That team won 5 championships when Duncan and Parker and Ginobili. Those 3 guys. You throw in, David on his way out. But 5 championships in the Shaq era, that's strong. That shows you how good that team was. So it's like you run up against those 2 teams in the finals. It's not like the finals we just saw with Milwaukee's first time there and Phoenix first time there. You're talking about 2 perennial, all-star laden teams, Hall of Fame coaches on both sides against a young Nets team trying to find their way. It was an experience for all of us.
When you look at today's Nets as constructed, James, Kevin, as the 2 active players as stars on the team, do you still like their chances without Kyrie Irving in the fold currently?
No, they need Kyrie. They definitely need Kyrie. I just think it just puts too much pressure on those 2 guys. I think this era nowadays, you need 3 stars. You definitely need 3 high caliber players that can control the game with the ball in their hands. And we saw what happened last year with the injuries across the league. The game is so fast now. Injuries are going to always play a role in today's game, unfortunately. And Kyrie definitely has to come back and help his team get to the championship and have a chance of winning it. Without him, if they could make the Eastern Conference Finals, that would be a great season. I don't care what happens in the regular season. They definitely need Kyrie in the postseason.
When you watch The Last Dance, you got a brief cameo when you played against the Bulls in the playoffs that year. What memories did that draw watching the 97-98 season?
That was playing against that 70-win Bull. Like, listen, I told you earlier, the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe were dominant. The Spurs were dominant. But the 70-win Bulls, I can't describe to you what it was like playing against that squad. It was like, yeah, it was interesting to see how they portrayed those guys in that film. But I think overall, my memories were, wow, they were that good. Jordan was even better than how they portrayed him. He really was. And the supporting cast, the Pippins, the Kerrs, the Rodmans, the Harper, you know, oh my God, they were that good, man. They were that good.